Welcome to Global Affairs Network. I'm your host, Malik Lenzanzo. Today's conversation is with the trainer, author, Jazz the CEO is in a house to talk about gun ownership, training, and safety. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Jazz the CEO. Welcome, my
Hello.
friend. Welcome. How you doing?
What's going on? Thank you for having me. I'm
Can you
doing
hear me
good.
okay? Yeah, absolutely.
Doing real good.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me
I can hear
okay?
you. Can you hear me?
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yep.
I'm glad you're here. You know, gun ownership is a very important issue, and I'm so happy that you're here to kind of give us some tips about
Yeah.
why somebody should own a gun and why they need a training. They need training in order to even hold that kind of machine in their hands. So you're here
Yeah.
today to break it down, to give us all the
Break it
all the
down.
yeah all the information about using a gun. But I have to remind everybody, you're not a gun owner. You don't own a gun shop, right?
Yes. So I don't. They're called FFLs, and I don't personally have a FFL or sell guns. I train people in order to get the license to buy one. I train people in order to get the license to carry and how to use it, fundamentals, how to get comfortable with a firearm. Teaching the youth. Parents have firearms in the home. Sometimes their kids don't know what it is or how to use it, and that causes curiosity. So we encourage youth classes so that kids no longer have to have that curiosity. They know the right way to handle it, the wrong way. They don't learn from music videos, television, movies, and they learn from the parents and the instructor. So we do all those kind of things. Keep people
Wonderful.
informed.
Absolutely. So this is what we're gonna be doing. Just in a second, when we come back, you're gonna introduce yourself properly. Introduce yourself, because I won't do you service justice
Okay.
if I talk.
You
I'll tell
did you
people
did
about
good.
you.
Okay.
So just in a few. All right. So we're back here with Jazz, the CEO.
Okay.
That's how they know you. Now tell us a little bit
Okay.
about you and what you do. Go ahead.
Okay, so like he said, usually people call me Jazz, the CEO. My name is Jasmine Lee. I own a security and investigations company called After Hours, the brand. We do training for firearm training. We do security guard training. We also have armed and unarmed guards. We do private detective work. We do a little bit of everything you can think of in the security industry. Um, so I am an NRA instructor. I've been a security officer for 15 years, federal, private, retail, you name it. I've dabbled in a little bit of all of it. And right now, my main focus is sharing information, sharing knowledge. That's brought about me writing a book. I wrote a book about de-escalation called From Zero to 35, and I think it goes hand to hand. I can teach you um, the minimum state requirements on how to buy a gun. You buy it, but I need you to know that de-escalation probably should be first. I need you to know that there's other things besides using your firearm. Just because you have it doesn't mean that that is what you should go to every single time. The balance, there's always checks and balances in anything that you do, and that goes for self-defense as well. Sometimes the best thing to do in self-defense is to walk away, if possible, or to calm the situation down, if possible. Now, I know it's not possible every single time, and if we're talking about the civilian side of things, that's one thing. But if you're talking about the police side of things, those are two different worlds. So for me, I teach civilians. So de-escalation is possible most of the time. And so that's kind of what we focus on right now, is that checks and balance of self-defense.
Absolutely. Listen, I can see the seriousness behind what you do.
Yeah,
If you listen, if
serious.
you wrote a book, It shows clearly that
Hmm.
you first of all you love what you're doing and you know what you're doing because writing a
Yeah,
book is not an easy task to do.
it's not.
So in that book, you probably now that I know that you have a book, I probably would buy one and then bring it back on the show to
Ooh,
kind of talk
let's
about
do
that book.
that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's very, very. Here, let me remind all our viewers. This show is about, putting the light, the spotlight on folks like Jazz, the CEO, to give them a
Appreciate it.
chance to reach a different kind of audience that she previously didn't have, and also remember, this is about education, politics, and a business. So don't
Right.
be afraid. Send us a message if you want to be on the show, just like Judge the CEO. Come and tell us
Yeah.
what you do. So
I'm
I
I'm
was,
I'm gonna
I was
send some people your way too. This is a great
absolutely
opportunity.
yes. Let's keep the business in the family, okay?
Right.
Yeah, I don't own a gun myself, but I know it's something that I'm planning to do in a few months or few years, who knows? And
Few
it's all
days. Let's do
yeah,
days.
few days. This is America.
Right.
You should have something like that to protect yourself and your family. But it is important, though. It is very important to know that you know somebody who knows the business pretty good to teach you step by step, because you
Right.
probably know people who never touched a gun in their entire
Right.
life, like myself.
I get a
And
lot of people like that.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So, folks out there, if you're thinking about, owning a gun, you need to understand the safety that come with it.
Right.
And now let me ask you this: uh, it, the range of or people that you usually train
Okay.
is this about age, or you train everybody, women, men? What's the most demographic that you deal with?
So in general, the biggest demographic that I have encountered in the last few months, let's say since the BLM protests, since George Floyd, since the whole political situation, since that, Black women, the number of Black women who have become gun owners, who have desired to become a gun owner, has risen really, really high. And even in statistics, the NRA throws out different statistics all the time about who is buying the most firearms at the moment, and Black women are who are buying the most firearms at the moment. So my classes are filled with a lot of new gun owners who are mothers, a lot of new gun owners who are single women, and they're like, I'm going to and from work, or I'm living alone, or this, and all kinds of things. I think the climate of the world has gotten people to think about the fact that you watched on TV police cars getting blown up, police being running away. So if you think that they're the ones that are going to come save you, I mean, it's kind of the news blew that order. So you got one end where you're like, the police are doing this and this is not good. Then you got the other end and it was like, okay, what happened at the Capitol building? They took over it. So who's really saving you? You are. So now I think everybody is starting to realize that no, you are your own first responder. It's your duty to protect yourself, your family, and the things around you. So I think that's what's really happening right now. And that's why we see the rise in gun owners in our community.
Absolutely. Listen, you mentioned something very important. You talk about de-escalation, and this is not
Hmm.
just carrying a gun, but that can also be your interaction with the police.
Right.
And the work that you do is very important because that will save a lot of life. And people
Right.
watching you right now, why do you think they should come to you, especially if you live in a DMV area? Why should they come to you?
Well, I'm just the best. No, I think like you
But
mentioned earlier, you gotta say that. But besides that, this is my purpose. My purpose is to teach people how to protect themselves. I'm not doing it because right now you can make a quick buck doing it. I'm not doing it because, oh, this is gonna pay my bills. No, regardless of all of that, this is my purpose. This is what's falling out of me onto my community, my friends, my family. I want you to know how to protect yourself when something comes. So you want to go to an instructor, one who knows what they're talking about as far as the textbook, what knows, knows the textbook. But you also want to go to somebody who is passionate about what they do. And I'm very passionate about what I say, what I do. I didn't grow up in the suburbs, but I am the daughter of a police officer. I am the sister of a police officer. So, I have a perspective that, coming from growing up in Buffalo, New York, and everything's not pretty and hunky dory, to also being able to see somebody in uniform and dealing with those things all together. My perspective is very well rounded and very well versed. And I think you don't really want to go to somebody who has one track mind and one sided mind. I can kind of see things from a couple of different viewpoints. So I think that's why people should find someone like me or find me. I mean, it's fine too.
Listen, if they don't believe you, first go and buy the book. So you
Go
read
by
that,
the
I know the next day you will. There we go. Go buy that book. The next time once you finish reading that book, you will look for just the
right.
CEO to train you. And
Absolutely.
we've been seeing a lot of misuse of gun all around the world. I mean, especially here in America, it's
It's
been
a
a
huge
problem.
issue that's been an issue. But there's several sides to that one issue, right? We can talk about misuse for a lot of things, school shootings, this, that, and the third. But a school shooting and a crime in high crime area, those are two different kinds of people, right? Some of those people might have gotten guns from their family, their mother, their father, or their actual legal gun owners who might have mental health or just, plain evil. But then you have the aspect, if you live in the inner city and there's a lot of crime, those people aren't following the laws anyway. So even if we make harder gun laws, harsher gun laws, criminals do not care about what the law is. If they did, they would not be criminals. So for somebody who lives in Baltimore City, we can say, yes, we want some harsh gun laws, we want stricter gun laws, but it's only going to hurt us in the end because we're the ones that are abiding by the law. So while I'm abiding by the law and trying to mind my business, Joe Smo over here, who's not abiding by the law, has several firearms because they're all illegal, but now I don't have anything to make us equal. I'm only 5'3", so there's not a lot of times where a huge man is standing in front of me deciding he wants to cause me harm and we're equal. I can train all day, train martial arts, but for me, my equalizer is the firearm on my hip, so that's kind of what I teach. Like, it's not really about having the power to harm somebody, it's just having the ability to come equal with the person trying to harm you. So, unless,
Wonderful.
if the escalation doesn't work.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, you just make me start to
Start to think about it a
no,
little.
I never I never really you know uh, I was born in Africa, and there was no need to have a gun, though.
Right.
But America is it's a much bigger
Different place.
and
Yeah.
different place and more sophisticated, and then most people do actually own a gun too for their own protection. I saw Mr. Delay here was talking about you are your own you are on you are your own first responder, and
Absolutely.
yeah, so it is right. You got to do the best you can to be able to protect yourself and your family
Right.
when it needs to be. But at the same time, one of the things that personally I've been seeing that when you own a gun, that is not a reason for you to just display it, because some people have some machine gun that actually are supposed to be like military guns, like this
Right.
is like war guns, and you see somebody walking on the street with a gun that's supposed to be a military gun, and if you're black, you really have to really pay attention, because having a black man walking on down the street with a machine gun versus our white counterpart, the perception usually is kind of different. The way the police
Right.
will react to it, and you coming from a police family,
So
I
I have
don't
a
know.
lot to say about that, but I'm
Yeah,
gonna keep it short. We only got like an hour, 45 minutes.
absolutely.
So I'm gonna touch on a couple of things. So first, I want the viewers to know that the guns that you see are not machine guns, right? They resemble what you see in the movies. In the movies, likes to call them machine guns or likes to say they're fully automatics. Fully automatics have been banned in the United States since the early 80s, right? So they may resemble these things as far as aesthetics and as far as the way they look to you, um, because of how we've seen them on the media, but they're technically not machine guns. They're not military grade firearms. We don't have them. We don't have manufacturers who are allowed to sell them. They typically I was seeing if I had something next to me, but they typically look like it, but they're actually not it. So if you have to continuously pull the trigger with your finger, that's not a fully automatic. So if I pull my finger one time and it shoots out, keep shooting, that's fully automatic. But if I continuously have to shoot, the faster I shoot, the faster the faster I pull, the faster it shoots out. That's because you're manually pulling that trigger, right? So I just wanted to make sure that people watching know that the people who are walking around, we can use the Capitol or we can use the militias when we saw them try to counter the BLM. Those firearms, they're most likely AR-15s, right? Those are what we are allowed to have most of the time. Um, so yes, I just wanted to do that first. But then second, yes, now I mean we are in America. The whole being black thing and the whole not being equal thing and not getting the same kind of equity of treatment, that is probably never going away. So yes, if you see a white man walking with an AR-15 down the street, not in Maryland, anybody's getting stopped in Maryland. Our laws are different, but Texas, and then versus a black man walking down the street with an AR-15, yes, unfortunately, you get different attitude, you get a different vibe, and I don't even have explanation for that.
Me
That is
neither.
just
Me neither.
something we have
I
dealt
don't.
with.
I don't hope. I don't. I don't even expect you to understand.
Right.
That
I
that's the way
don't
it is.
understand it, but I open carry in Maryland all the time. Right. Do I have a death wish? No. But if it's the law, don't tell me it's the law and then tell me I can't follow the law. So the law in Maryland, people have stigma where they think that we are a concealed carry state, but we are not. Our state, our permit is called wear and carry. That means I can wear it how I want and I can carry it how I want. Now, most people conceal it. Great, but I do it for two reasons. I'm a rebel. That's just how I am. That's just who I am. So I wear it outer waistband holster. I wear it. You can see it if I'm at the gas station. You can see it. Sometimes I'm in uniform. Sometimes I'm just dressed like this, because it's a law that we're allowed to as long as you have a permit. So that's one. And then two, it's also good for business. People are like, "What the heck is going on there? What's going on? Who's this little girl with this big gun?" So I do carry. I have been stopped by the police before. Um, you know, I have probably every permit I can think of that Maryland has. So it's just, it's whether it's kind of how you carry yourself when it comes to that, and that's why the de-escalation comes into play, right? Because we had gun owners who are licensed who have died at the hands of police, because that police officer was scared or that police officer couldn't handle the job at the time. Castro, um, he had a permit. He was a school resource officer, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but before he could even really pull out his license to carry, he was shot, right? So it's really not about gun laws. It's really about the person who decided to fill out that application, the person who decided to hire that person, and how that person is. Because outside of a uniform, these people are regular people. Police officers are regular people. If they're buttholes outside of the uniform, best believe they're going to be buttholes in the uniform, right? The uniform doesn't make them angels. They doesn't make them, people who never do anything wrong, they're still humans. So when you have gun incidents or these brutality incidents, you have to remember that it's not just this is a police brutality person. This person has a problem as an individual, right? This person may be at home beating their wife. This person has a life outside of that uniform. And a lot of the times, what I always felt is if more of us, me, my skin folk, if more of us who have a really good head on our shoulders, who have no criminal background, if we decided to fill out these applications and took over as the majority in these jobs, then maybe the tide would change. But we can't always complain, right? We can't complain because at some point we're complaining, we're in this huge group and we're all upset and complaining. And then once the complaining stops, nothing changes because the people we're complaining to don't technically care. But if we decided to actually take steps to change that, you know, I mean, at one point we weren't allowed to play baseball. At one point we weren't allowed to play football in the major leagues, right? But now most of the athletes that are making all the money are black. But that's because those athletes decided this is what I'm gonna go out for. So if more people who wanted police to change went out and became police officers, the tide would change. We can't just do one in each city. Oh, I want to become a police officer because I want to make it better. That's great, but only one of us doing it isn't going to make that big of a difference. Like we don't know why they act the way they act towards us. We could go back and people can do all the historian talk, but for me, I do what I do because I decided I wanted to change that tide. I'm
Right.
training other instructors because I know me doing it by myself isn't going to change the tide. So if I bring 6 other people, now they're all NRA instructors. Now you got 6 more black people inside the NRA teaching the curriculum that they've been teaching their family for years and years. So we're kind of behind when it comes to firearm ownership, safety, get everything, even de-escalation. Because when we get into a situation with a police officer, our first thing is to say, "Oh, I know my rights," or "Oh, you're not supposed to be doing this." Oh, da 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 da. Right. But what's more important? Proving this guy wrong, who could possibly lose his cool and shoot you, or saving myself, making sure I go home at night. Because in their mind, like, oh, you're upset. I'm making sure I go home. You might have a weapon. I'm going to shoot you before you even do anything. Even though it's only a cell phone, in my head, I'm preserving my life. I'm making sure I go home. We need to do the same thing. We need to not
But
argue.
Jazz, I don't want to really stay there because you're a trainer, and I
Hmm.
really my question would be my next question will come back on the training. I would like to know exactly whether you do in person or distance training. But before we get there, I just wanted to know, even people working in McDonald's, they
Right.
are dealing with the escalation of this kind of situation. But
Right.
it seems to me when we see what's going on TV with the police, it looks like
Hmm.
they should be the one receive this kind of training.
Right.
Because they're primarily the first job of a police officer is to protect,
Right.
and if you're the one who's supposed to be protecting the people, and you're the one who have guns, and you happen
Hmm.
to almost shoot people who don't have guns, then the issue is really not really a political one. This is a societal, and this is something that
Right.
we have to see it. Just like you said, some of these people, they were already bad people before they even joined the police. So what I'm
Right.
going to do real quick is to take a quick break. When we come back, eventually, I would like you to kind of elaborate a little bit more on that, but
I'll
also
try.
to talk about the training, the kind of training you give to people, and what is
Okay.
in-person training on that. So that will be in a few minutes. Welcome back. You are on Talk to Me, and we are with the one and only Jazz, the CEO. She's here
The
to
one and
instruct
only.
the one and only. Well, I have to throw some couple of questions before we went on a break. So I would like for you to come and tell us a little bit about, maybe you want to elaborate on the last point or
A little
just
bit.
jump directly on the training. I want to know if you do in person training, or possibly on the range or something like that. Just please jump in and then let us know about what kind of training you do. And if you want to go
Okay.
back, feel free
I'll,
to
I'll
do
I'll
so.
do I'll do a little bit of both. So the last thing you were saying was that it should be their job to de-escalate. They're the ones with the firearms, they're the ones the training. So right. That is what we hope for, right? But we have that thought process has already been proven wrong several times, right? So at some point, when as black people, at some point, when some it's just like being in a relationship. At some point, when somebody shows you who they are and what they are, it's now your responsibility to do what you have to do to get out of that relationship or to stop that incident from happening, et cetera, right? So now, not all police officers, I have a brother, I have a father that's a police officer. They have never been arrested for doing any kind of thing that these people do. There's always bad somebody in something. There's bad in NRA instructors. There's NRA instructors all over the web who are shooting themselves in the foot, who are shooting their students by accident because they don't follow the basic safety rules. So we always have bad apples. But at some point, we have to be like, okay, it's our job. I need to protect myself. I need to protect my children. I need to protect the person next to me. That's why now in 2020, you started seeing strangers, complete strangers, if they see young black men get pulled over, they pull over, they film, or they say, no, I'm just here. I'm just here to make sure this young man goes home. You have a lot of things like that because now we know that we have to protect ourselves. And that is my motto. I push that. We can expect things from people, but expectation always, gets us disappointed because we expect so much out of human beings. You're going to get exactly what you want out of human beings. So that's just my thing about that. Now, training. I do in-person training. I do online training, but mostly I do in-person training because I'm very hands-on. I really need to know that you know exactly what the parts are, what I'm talking about, how to handle it, that you feel comfortable. A lot of new gun owners go into the range and they jump as soon as they hear the first shot if somebody else is in the range. So you're not going to get that online, right? So you're going to jump. You're going to be, oh my God, I want to be able to be there and say, calm down, breathe. They're pointing this way. They're not going to hit you, So I do a lot of online. I have 3 trainings coming up. I have the first training is called a bundle course. It's for security officers. People who want to become private detectives, security officer, and armed security officer. I do a 2-day course where I wrap all that curriculum up into one bundle course. And then I have HQL, which is handgun qualification license training. And that's just basic pistol. That's the fundamentals of firearms. That's the fundamentals of shooting, sight alignment, sight picture, stand, grip, all those kind of things. And that's so that you can purchase a handgun in Maryland, right? And then we have wear and carry training. That's another 2-day course. And this is for you, like someone who's a business owner, um, to carry it with you to from home, to carry it with you when you're out and about on your person. Not everybody qualifies for that, but shoot me a DM, let me know, and we'll talk about what the qualifications are for that. But yes, I do all those kinds of different training.
Absolutely. In a minute when you were talking, as you can see, there's a
Yes.
video that was playing, about this qualification. I want people to understand that this is a pretty good opportunity for us to even address this craziness around the use of gun in America. If people are properly trained to
Properly
carry,
trained.
yeah, if they are properly trained and with all the psychology that goes behind it, you talk about de-escalation. I think that's a pretty interesting, and I'm glad you brought it up. And this is not just about our encounter with the police officer. This can also be somebody, like you said, most women nowadays feel like they have to be trained for that. But that doesn't
Right.
mean that you, once you have a gun, you go around and shoot people. That's why you need training. You
Right.
need training.
Right.
Somebody will tell you how can you avoid not using the gun. And I'm not using the gun. You only have to use it when needs be, when it's
When life or
necessary.
death situation, life or
Absolutely.
death. Because in your hands, just like in the video right now, in your hands, you have the power to take life. And you might not necessarily wake up in the morning and be ready for that. You
Right.
know, you have it on you, but are you really ready to take a life? Therefore, de-escalation should be that first thought in your mind. If somebody's arguing with you, road rage, all kinds of things. There's a video that's going viral right now because neighbors were arguing over snow, and a neighbor shot both his neighbors and himself, right? He could have had all the training in the world, but training is not going to stop that mental issue either. You know, if somebody's unstable, somebody's unstable. So when that person is unstable, you need to be stable enough to de-escalate. You need to know when it's time to recognize that there's a problem, you know, and that's what my de-escalation course is coming. That's coming this year. You need to learn how to identify the signs of it being your job to de-escalate. We can blame everybody that we want to. We can blame a police officer who's angry and talking to us all kinds of way. At some point, I'm like, okay,
Yeah, your life. It's your life.
yes,
Yeah.
like yeah, like I want to cuss you out. I
Yeah.
want to argue with you, but I
Right.
also want to go home. So now I figure out what I need to do to fight this in court or, you know, whatever. And you can be anywhere and a situation breaks out. People are crazy nowadays, especially road rage, arguments with neighbors. Some stuff is just not worth it, right?
Yeah.
You have to take emotion. When you're a gun owner, one of my fellow instructors, Dwayne Elmore, he always says, now that you're a gun owner, you need to not be emotional. You need to take your emotion out of all these situations because now that you're a gun owner, you have the power to take life. And if you're emotional, you'll use that power and then regret it the second it happens.
Absolutely.
So, you know, we
Ab-
teach all, we try to get into all of that in our classes.
So, it's a lot of women, and they're all abused. They're in an abused relationship. And that's, I think that this escalation also have to be very, very. We have to really emphasize, and you do good emphasizing this enough to really understand responsibility that comes with,
Responsibility. Uh-huh.
yeah, because just because you're angry, just because somebody did something to you, I don't think you should automatically think about, oh, you know what, I'm
Right.
gonna take this man or this woman life. So
Right.
unless this is a you know life-threatening event that that now you have to defend yourself because you're about to die. But
Right.
if it's just
Right.
somebody the usual conversation or fight,
Now,
it,
you mentioned abusive relationships. So I want to separate the two because in an abusive relationship, right, you might not be about to die at that moment, but if it started with yelling and then it escalated to hitting, then it escalates to throwing you against the wall.
yeah.
We're on level 3, right? So eventually it's gonna get to level 5 or 6, right? So that's that part of de-escalation. Might not be talking to that person because if that person's abusive, man or woman, if that person's abusive, their mental capacity is not for you to de-escalate them, right? That's you're not gonna it's not gonna work. But what you can do in a de-escalation standpoint is do it in within yourself. Okay, I'm recognizing that this is not good. I'm recognizing that this is about to escalate. So in order for me to de-escalate, it's time to leave. I need to retreat,
Yeah, I mean
right?
that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Abusive relationship, just walk away. Why?
Right.
Why do
And you
you
know,
have
it's
to?
it's it's not always that easy. You know, I want to tread lightly on that subject because I'm not in an abusive relationship. I've seen stories, I've seen people, I've seen family members, and it's just not we can say just walk away. I'm like, just walk away. I'll shoot somebody in the foot quick, you know. Don't hit me. Ain't none of that. Hold on now. Uh-uh. But it's not that easy for everybody because once again, everybody's mental and emotional space isn't as strong as me and you, right? We're strong. Like everybody can't do public speaking the way me and you are doing it right now, right? I have an intern right now who I force to talk to my students because he doesn't even like to say hi because he's nervous, he's shy. So everybody doesn't have the ability to just walk away as soon as it gets bad, right? And that's where that family, has to come in, that support system. But everybody doesn't have that, capacity to do so. So
It's kind of complicated because
right,
my point here is just to remind people that once you're on a gun, this is a this is a very very dangerous
right, and serious,
yeah. So
right,
you cannot always think about, oh, you know what, because the reason why I'm saying this is what I don't know if you know about the craziness that everybody talk about Chicago. Somebody just
right,
was pissed off, and there you go for a drive by, and without even
right,
thinking, because you're just mad. If for candy
right,
or sugar or whatever stuff is, you go over there and then trying to take somebody's life. You
right,
know, the training here is to remind you that, listen, this weapon is here to protect you in case you feel like somebody else want to take your life. I think
right,
that's the message here. Now,
right,
if you dealing with somebody for years and now you think, okay, you know what? Every time I'm, having an argument with this person, it goes
right.
from zero to
100,
100.
right,
You know? And 100 being, I've been slamming on the wall and kind of
right,
stuff. And sometimes I be, work up in a hospital.
right,
That is pretty. You can die in that kind of
right. You
process.
can die.
Yeah.
Right,
So then we can say, you know what? Um, you'll be right to defend yourself.
right.
But at the
We
same
said,
time,
but the law,
yeah,
it depends on where you live at, right? Like Maryland, we
absolutely.
are a duty to retreat state, right? And duty to retreat means, hey, is there a window? Is there a door? Is there a doggy crawl space that you could have left? So what I think people don't realize is once you get a gun, right? Yes, it needs to be about whether or not you feel that you're in fear of your life. But then right after that, right after you do or don't shoot, now you have to deal with it on a civil. You might pass the criminal stuff. The cops might say, oh, that was justified. You're good. But then on the civil case, the parent of the person that you shot might now sue you and say, oh, they weren't going to kill you. My son only broke into your house to get a TV and you shouldn't be killing anybody over a TV, right? You might have been in fear, but they want to try to prove that you shouldn't have been in fear for your life because their son is a boy, right? Little Johnny just broke in the house just to say hi. So you have to think about all that. So in my class, I have a handout that goes through the law. It goes through the duty of retreat. It goes through the doctrine. It goes through all these things because I want you to take it home. I want you to study. You can listen to me, but you're gonna might forget half of what I say as soon as you leave. So I want you to have this in your house. So right before you think about shooting somebody over a television, over a car that you can get another one, anything that you can replace that's not your children's life, your life, that's when you're going to probably not come out, right? Because in Maryland, you have a duty to retreat. So if you can't prove that you tried to de-escalate or tried to retreat, they putting you in jail on that civil case. You might
Absolutely.
lose and get sued. So it's a huge picture people have to think about before they pull that trigger.
Absolutely. And I'm glad. I'm really glad that you are on target with reminding people.
It's
Depending
scary,
on
man.
what state you live in, don't
Right? What
just go
state
over
you live
there.
in?
Yeah, and don't go over
Yeah.
there and some crazy people get away with so-called standing your ground or whatever.
Stand
I
your
don't know.
ground.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So
Exactly.
it's pretty interesting. But listen, what we're gonna do again is that I'm gonna take another break, probably the last break, commercial break. When we come back, basically what we're gonna be talking about is where people can get, how do they get in touch with you. Of course, that we've been
Okay.
playing some video in the background to know that there's some events. So we're gonna talk about that, the
Okay.
events that are coming up, but also how can people get in touch with you quickly. Uh,
Okay.
um, in the meantime, please, in our box, you can send me some. If you want people to contact you, there will be a number. After or
Okay.
this show. All right.
Got it.
Look, leading can be tough, and leading without support, limited resources, an inexperienced team, all while managing work-life balance is even tougher. This is an exclusive opportunity for you to take full advantage of my years of leadership experience and glean from my mentors and all the work that I've done, the learning, the trials, the error, and the growth. You're joining an ecosystem of believers, leaders, thinkers, and doers who are here to support your dreams, celebrate your wins, and encourage your success.
All right. Talk to me,
Hey.
Jazz CEO. Talk to me. Listen. I've been having fun listening to what you have to say, and really, really interesting stuff. I think this is very important. If you are thinking like me right now about, you know, getting yourself into buying a gun, you also have to think about where you can go to have um, training and go
Right.
get the training with certified people.
Right.
People who've been recognized by organizations like NRA, to do what they do. So you want to go to the best to get your training so that you can stay safe. Actually, Jazz the CEO is actually the best in the industry.
The
Unless
best.
somebody, unless somebody else come and prove us the
Right.
contrary.
Right. There's a lot of
So
good guys, a lot of good guys and girls.
absolutely. Well, so let's go back to that question. I was actually asking you, where can people go to find you? Do you do distance training, in-person training? Also to us about, let us know about those events that are coming up,
Okay.
and so people can actually know about how to deal with this, how to get in touch with you.
Okay. So the easiest way to get in touch with me right now is social media. Of course, I'm always on here. My events are on here. So Facebook, I am Jazzy CEO, and I am Jazzy CEO across the board. Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. What else they have? They have something new every day, right? Uh, everything, every clubhouse. I am Jazz the CEO. Anywhere on it on social media, you can find me at I am Jazz JAZZ CEO. So you can find me anywhere on that, and on Facebook, you'll see on my I am Jazz CEO page all my events that are for February. I have a link where it has a place for you to go, and I do private classes and private sessions. So my private sessions, if you want to learn how to use the firearm you already own, we go to the range, we shoot your firearm. I show you how to load it, unload it, clean it, the fundamentals. We work on your shooting. We do a whole bunch of things, throughout the hours that we're together. If you don't own a firearm, but you're looking to buy one and you have your HQL, or you've gone through me to get your HQL, we also do consultations. So I take somebody to the shop. We look at different firearms. We go to the rental counter. We look at different firearms, shoot different firearms, because people always ask me, what kind of gun should I get first? And I always tell them, I have no idea. We have to figure out what fits in your hand, which gun feels comfortable while you're shooting. So we do those kind of consultations. We do shopping. I love shopping. I'll never turn down a shopping trip. So you can find me on social media to do all of that. You would like to email me, you can email me at iamjazzceo@gmail.com. And for security purposes, we do armed, unarmed security. You can go to www.afterhoursecurity.com. That's pretty much it.
Do people have a after the training? Do you give them some kind of a license or
So I don't personally give you a license. I give you a certificate that says you passed or completed the class. And then Maryland State Police is who you turn the application into. And then once you turn in your application and everything that goes with that, then they decide whether or not you can have a license. So Maryland State Police is who issues licenses. We are just a mandatory class that you have to take in order to apply. So that's all we do. We do the training, and then Maryland State Police says yes or no.
Absolutely. Listen, it's so amazing that this is 45 minutes. The show is for
Right, I
45
know.
minutes, and we are just, or you're on point. I just love, sometimes we be bringing people on the show and they keep on and they cannot be. I'm so grateful that it shows the that you're a professional
I appreciate
person,
that.
and I want to remind my viewers that if you like what Jasmine is saying, don't worry. We're gonna get the book, and we will bring her back here to talk about that
Let's
book
do it.
that I think is very important at this moment in the history of our country. We
Yeah.
have to have the knowledge necessary so that we can stay out of trouble. There's a lot of
Right.
things going on. If somebody's not protecting you, it's your responsibility to protect
Right.
yourself. And that is not doesn't mean that you have to go and arm somebody. You just have to take all the precautions that you can stay out of trouble. So that is
Right.
our show for today. I'm gonna give you 2 minutes just to conclude. So if you have some kind of conclusion, just feel free to tell us whatever we need to know before this show ends. So
The conclusion. Go buy my book, From Zero to 35, De-escalation Tactics, Techniques, and Tips Before Ever Pulling Your Weapon. It's not just for security and police. It's for moms of Black sons. It's for mothers, fathers. It's for people who work in a huge working environment and have a lot of coworkers. Fights happen there too. So it's just a de-escalation across the board. We need more of it. We need less, tension in the world, especially the climate right now. We all need to kind of know how to get out of situations and not escalate situations. So for me,
abs-
that's the conclusion. Link is
absolutely.
on all the pages I gave you. That link to that book is right there. Help me get to New York Times bestseller.
All right. Well said. Listen, it was a pleasure to have a conversation with you.
Thank you
We
for having me.
look forward to talk to you another time. For now, that was Talk to Me on the Global Affairs Network. See you later.